Welcome to Lived In, the interior design podcast for ordinary people living in ordinary homes. It's season 4, and this season we're talking about how to think differently about our homes. Last time we were together, we talked about whether modern homes should try and look old. And today we're exploring anti-aesthetic homes and asking ourselves the question, should we seek to live in humbler homes? Let's get into it. Hello folks, I hope we're all doing well. Just as a fun FYI, I am exhausted while recording this, but I am simultaneously very excited to be talking about this topic because it's a theme I've seen across social media at various points in time. You may have seen it too, where someone posts, a video of their home with a caption like, "Normalize living in an unaesthetic home." And I like the spirit of those videos in those posts because I do think that with the growth of HGTV, with the growth of TikTok, with the growth of Reels, that people are just, in general, more obsessed than ever with having a pretty home and having a home that looks good, especially on social media. And I do think we can do that the wrong way because there's an element of making our houses something that is for other people instead of making our houses something that is for ourselves. That grammar sounds off, but we're going to roll with it, guys. Like I said, I'm tired today. Now, obviously, if you are part of this community of listeners, this podcast, if you've followed along with Hemby Home Co for a while, then you understand that our goal, my goal, is always to have homes that are lived in. And what that really means is that we live authentically in our homes. So let's take a breath. What do I mean by authentic? I mean that we should seek for our homes to be places that reflect us and are not designed to impress others. And when I say reflect us, I don't just mean look like us, I mean feel like us, support us, facilitate our lives, not just impress others. And I say that because while it's not wrong to want your home to be something that you enjoy living in and like having others enjoy being in, it is easy to chase the wrong things as you go about designing, furnishing your home. It's very easy to chase luxury for the sake of luxury. People say, "Oh my gosh, marble, oh my gosh, gold." And to me, that's a bit misdirected. Now, what I will say is that while I don't think an ugly house or a poorly designed house is anything to be ashamed of, I also don't think that an ugly house or a house that doesn't function well is any kind of badge of honor in and of itself. I think that we should seek to improve or make better the things that we can and stay grounded in doing so. So you don't need to fall into the trap of, I can live in an aesthetic home or I can live in an unaesthetic home. What I do think you need to do is assess your intention. Where are we going, guys? We're going to some questions. So here they are. Are you trying to seem better than everybody else? And I believe this is where those videos that I mentioned earlier can end up being a problem because you can try and seem better than everybody else by feeling superior because you are, in quote, less superficial. I don't think that's a badge of honor that you need to necessarily try to wear. I think if you are less superficial and you're fine with your house, that's one thing. But you can also go the other way where you're trying to seem better than everybody else by having a grander, larger, shinier, bigger, more expensive home. And again, that's also in its own way kind of superficial. The other question I would encourage you to ask is, are you doing it because you believe it is expected? Is everyone else doing it and so you feel the pressure to do it? It's almost like, the insane weddings or the insane bachelorette trips. Is it actually what you want or what you need? Or is it this weird societal pressure that you feel to conform? Your home is yours, believe it or not. And you shouldn't feel any pressure to make it anything other than what you want it to be. And so if you move into a home or you rent a home or you buy a home and you are perfectly content with the way it is, then don't feel that because other people have made comments or suggestions or are making changes that you have to join in. You can 100% do your own thing. Hi guys, we are about to go a bit deeper into this topic. Having a humble home, should we live in a humble home? Should that be our goal? But before we do, I wanted to share with you about our one-on-one consultations. We're in a really tight economy, but that doesn't mean that you can't do a lot with a small budget. I'm all about making a little bit of money go a really long way, wherever possible. In fact, one of my favorite online creators, Lone Fox, has a video that I'll make sure is linked in the show notes where he talks about low cost or free ways to upgrade your decor, and I love it. I love that idea. Now, back to our one-on-one consultations. For just $200, we'll show you how you can create the home that you need with the budget that you have. You receive a detailed plan package with links and references to all of the items that we discussed during the initial consultation call. You then get 2 additional follow-up calls, and you get unlimited email correspondence about that project. So if you're doing your dining room, we'll talk about your dining room. We'll then send you a load of links with images and tips and tricks. You can call and follow up twice, and then you can just keep emailing us about your dining room whenever a question comes up. Our hope, our goal, is to make it easy and to make it affordable and to make it attainable to achieve a home that you can thrive in. So for more information or to register for a consultation, click the link in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the episode. Okay, so let's spend some time getting into this humility thing. I think we really have to decide what is meant by a humble home or a humbler home. Is a humble home a home that is falling apart at the seams and really needs repair? Or is a humble home simply a home that is not screaming glitz and glam and money, where every surface is marble and there are crystals in the chandelier, etc., etc.? Or is a humble home just a home that has been well loved and well maintained, but not modernized? I'll let you think about that one for a second. But here's my 2 cents. You don't have to modernize your home. There's nothing wrong with just restoring things that aren't working or repairing things that are broken. You don't have to modernize them. You don't have to upgrade them. If you like your countertop and it chips and you just replace the section with another section that's exactly the same and it's not a stone, a natural stone, that's fine. If you want to use a laminate, that's fine. I do think it's rare that you don't want to upgrade something that is broken if you have the opportunity and the means financially to do so for, the same amount. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with saying, you know what, I like the way things are, I want to keep them the same. And there is another aspect for this too, which is simply that living in a humble home is living in a home that you can afford. And I think that is something that we all should be doing. We all should be seeking to live within our means. And, it's okay. It's absolutely fine to want to have nice things. So I'm not saying that that's a bad desire in and of itself. However, I do think putting yourself in a dangerous position financially for a home that doesn't actually enhance your lifestyle in the long run, because financially it's going to be crippling you, that's a poor decision. And so if that's what you're doing, then you kind of need to ask the question of why. Why are you trying to seek to create a home that is outside of your means, outside of the way that you can afford to live? It could be that, like me, you suffer from expensive taste. And so you see things and you like them, and then you realize the cost to install them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm saying that to myself too. Sometimes you just have expensive taste. You just like really nice things because you notice details and you like them. That's fine. Still make the right choices for where you're at in life. But on the other hand, it could be a misplaced motivation. So something like trying to impress someone. And here's what I want to say about that when it comes to living in an aesthetic home or living in a home that isn't, in quote, humble. Really, and I feel this very strongly, but as you know, there are no rules, there are no prescriptions. This is just unsolicited advice. We really ought to live in the homes that we need, not just the homes that we like. For example, in my current stage of life, I don't need a 6,000 square foot home. I'm probably never going to need a 6,000 square foot home. I don't need 10 acres. I don't need 100 acres. I don't need to have the largest house on the block. I don't need to have the largest house amongst my kids' friends. I just need to have a house that serves me and my family well. So if we're reframing this from a house that is simply, in quote, unaesthetic, to a house that is humble in terms of approach, in terms of staying grounded, then how do you do that? How do you stay humble in your approach to your home? I think that the key for me, there are, I think, 3 things here. And the first of those is in asking myself, what problem am I trying to solve? And I say that because I think problem-led or solution-led design prevents you from being superficial in your choices. If you're just going for what looks the best, you're going to miss the mark. And I talked about this in earlier episodes this season, but the visual is only part of good design. Function is a huge part of good design. Form is a huge part of good design. And so you have to be focused on the problem you're trying to solve. Another way, so the next way I would say in terms of staying grounded, staying humble in your approach to your home, another way that I remain humble is by looking for materials with integrity. And what I mean by that is that I want materials in my home that look as they are and feel as they are. So I'm not pretending to be anything else. I'm not using anything that is pretending to be anything it's not. So if I can avoid it, I don't buy wood veneer or hollow metal look furniture. I buy things that are solid. It also means that I don't buy things, for example, like a countertop that looks like marble but feels like quartz. I like marble because it is marble, the texture of it on my hands, the smell of it, etc. And so therefore, I don't want something that simply looks like it but doesn't share any of its other qualities. And it also means that, for example, in my kitchen, I would have loved to have had marble, but I didn't do it for 2 main reasons. One was just durability. I probably would not have been able to live with the stains it would incur at this stage in my life because my kids don't care. My husband's really laid back. We regularly have family members in the home. I don't want to be high maintenance about it, and I would need to care a bit to maintain it. And second of all, it just didn't make sense affordability-wise. in the house that I'm in the neighborhood I'm in the town that I'm in, to put marble in this house. I wouldn't have recouped that value when I go to sell. So instead I went for quartz, but I was very intentional, very, very intentional to go for a quartz that looked like a quartz, not a quartz that looked like a marble, because I want it to be clear that it's quartz. I can't afford marble here. It doesn't make sense. And so therefore I'm not going to pretend that that's what it is. Now, this doesn't mean when I'm looking for materials with integrity that I trash things I have that are perfectly fine, that don't have integrity. If I have an existing piece that works, I'm keeping it. I'm actually looking in this moment at a console table in our dining room, and I know it's wood veneer because I sanded it and I painted it. And that was me making the best of what I had at the time, and it works. So I'm not going to get rid of it. What it does mean is that when I have a choice in picking my materials, I pick things that are what they are through and through. Next. Oh, actually, before I move on, going back to picking materials with integrity, this is very affordable. You know me, you know I'm all about things being affordable. I don't think you have to have tons of money to achieve good design or have nice things in your home. If you know where to look and how to look, then things can be affordable. So for example, right now in our bedroom, I am looking for a desk. I need a desk. It is very apparent to me that I really need it, especially as we approach summer and my kids being home more. I'm going to need a place to kind of retreat to. And I have decided that I want a solid wood desk. I don't want a desk with wood veneer. And so I am looking daily, sometimes hourly, on Facebook Marketplace for a used desk. I am checking secondhand stores, Habitat for Humanity, estate sales, and I'm checking groups on Facebook for used desks as well, because I want to keep it within a certain budget, and that's the best way to do it. Lastly, I prioritize what I know I need. In our next season of Lived In, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on my own home, how it's changed over the last few years, how I've prioritized projects and budget and gone about projects and chosen materials and chosen solutions. It's going to be a really kind of focused overview on my own home and the choices I've made and I am making. But as I'm making all of those choices, what keeps me grounded is a sense of priority. I'm continuously asking myself, what's going to have the biggest impact on our lifestyle? What do we need most? What can we afford at this moment in time that's going to give us the best bang for our buck? And so I think having a humble approach really for me is those three ways: being problem or solution led, being consistent in my choice of materials with integrity, not pretending, even through the objects that I have in my home, and always maintaining priority and a sense of what matters most for my family. You know, I don't think that we need to live in humble homes so much as we need to have a humble approach to the way we live in and design our homes. Don't seek to be better than anybody else. Don't seek to show off. Instead, be authentic. Focus on the problems that need solved. Live within your means and use materials that have integrity. That's it. Before you go, guys, make sure to take a look at our interior advising consultations. It is a one-time cost and you get to talk with me about your home and your needs and your challenges and your budget. And really you get as many of the benefits of a full interior designer as you can for a fraction of the cost. So you can find all the information through the link in the show notes. Thank you all so much for checking in with me this week on Lived In. We will be back in 2 weeks to continue this conversation on how to think about our homes differently and make our ordinary homes and ordinary lives more beautiful. I'll see you then.